Have you ever looked around your home after hours of cleaning and wondered, why does it still feel a little dull, almost lifeless? You're not alone. So many women over 60 put love and effort into their spaces, only to feel like something still doesn't shine. The truth is, it's often the smallest, most overlooked details that quietly age a home, no matter how much time you spend tidying. Today, I'm going to reveal 10 simple mistakes that might be making your home look older and less cared for, and of course, the easy fixes that can completely transform the way it feels. And let me be clear, this isn't about chasing perfection or spending endless hours scrubbing. It's about knowing where to focus so your home feels fresh, vibrant, and welcoming every single day. So before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video with a friend. Because once you discover these secrets, you'll never look at your home the same way again. 1. Windows and mirrors, streaky and foggy. What if I told you that your windows and mirrors, those simple pieces of glass, could be making your entire home look 10 years older? You can spend hours vacuuming, polishing, even buying new decor. But the moment a guest walks in, the very first thing their eyes catch is the light. And when that light is filtered through streaky windows or reflected in cloudy mirrors, everything feels dull, lifeless, and tired, almost as if all your hard work was erased in an instant. Imagine this. You step into a room where sunlight pours in through crystal clear glass. The colors look vibrant, the furniture seems alive, and the whole space feels refreshed. Now picture that same room, but with foggy panes and spotted mirrors. The difference is shocking, isn't it? Natural light is like the soul of a home. It can either breathe life into your space or drain it away. Eleanor, a woman from California, thought she needed new lamps to brighten her living room. She tried different bulbs, moved her furniture around, even bought fresh flowers. Nothing worked. One day, she learned to clean her windows at the right time. On a cloudy afternoon, using warm water with a drop of detergent, drying from top to bottom. The next time her friends visited, they didn't notice the rug or the curtains. They said, "Your home feels so bright." That one change transformed her space more than any piece of decor ever could. Because here's the truth. If your glass is dirty, no amount of cleaning elsewhere will matter. But when it's clear, your home glows, and even your reflection greets you more kindly. So before you reach for another cleaning gadget, start here. And if windows and mirrors can betray us this way, just wait until you see the everyday detail on your walls, something you touch dozens of times a day, that may be silently aging your home even more. 2. Forgetting switches and outlets. Think about the last time you flipped on a light switch or plugged in your phone charger. You probably didn't even notice the surface beneath your fingers, but your guests do, sometimes without even realizing it. Dirty, yellowed switches and outlets are like little shadows scattered across your walls, quietly telling everyone that the house has aged. Even if you've just painted the room or scrubbed it spotless, those small smudges and stains can undo the freshness in an instant. It happens so easily. Over the years, fingertips leave behind oils, dust clings on, and in kitchens, even a trace of cooking grease builds up. At first, it's invisible. Then one day, you step back and see that the switches look darker than the wall, or the outlets are tinged gray. And in that moment, it feels as though all your careful cleaning doesn't really show. Barbara, 65, shared with me that she used to think her living room walls needed repainting. The colors looked dingy no matter how much she dusted. Then, on a whim, she wiped down her switches with a damp cloth and a touch of baking soda. When they dried, the walls suddenly looked new again. Her daughter even asked if she had repainted. That's how powerful this one overlooked detail can be. Here's the trick. Turn off the power for safety. Use a soft cloth with mild detergent, and for tougher stains, a little baking soda with an old toothbrush. It only takes a few minutes, but the visual payoff is remarkable. Suddenly, the whole room feels brighter, cleaner, and more cared for, without the cost or hassle of repainting. And if switches can leave such an impression, imagine what a tangle of cords and wires does to the harmony of your home. Let's talk about that next. 3. Unorganized cords and wires. Have you ever walked into a beautifully decorated living room, only to notice a messy tangle of wires snaking across the floor or dangling behind the TV? It's like seeing a spider web in the corner of a painting. You can't look away, and it ruins the entire picture. No matter how clean the room is, exposed cords and chargers instantly make it feel cluttered and chaotic. This is one of those silent mistakes many women over 60 fall into without realizing it. We live in a world full of devices: TVs, tablets, laptops, lamps, phone chargers. Slowly, the cords multiply. At first you think, I'll tuck that one behind the chair later. But over time, the pile grows. Guests might not say a word, but their eyes notice it immediately. It's a signal of disorganization, even if every other part of your home is spotless. Karen in Florida told me she was embarrassed when her grandchildren teased her about the jungle of wires under her desk. She finally decided to fix it with a few simple solutions: adhesive cable covers that blended into the wall, Velcro ties to bundle cords together, and a decorative basket to hide the power strip. The result? Her home office went from looking makeshift to looking polished, almost like a staged room in a magazine. The truth is, you don't need expensive equipment. Cardboard tubes, reusable ties, or even stylish baskets can do the job. When cords are out of sight, your furniture suddenly looks more elegant, and the entire space feels intentional and calm. Because here's the thing. Once your eyes are no longer distracted by the chaos of wires, they naturally wander down to the details that frame the room. And that's where another silent culprit often lurks: your baseboards. Let's take a closer look. 4. Neglecting baseboards. Baseboards are like the frame around a beautiful painting. You can hang the most stunning artwork, but if the frame is chipped, dusty, or yellowed, the whole picture loses its charm. The same is true in your home. You might scrub the floors, polish the furniture, and even repaint the walls. But if your baseboards are dirty, the entire space quietly whispers neglect. The reason so many women overlook this detail is simple. Baseboards sit low, out of our direct line of sight. They gather dust, pet hair, and the splashes of mopping water. But because they aren't at eye level, they're easy to forget. Guests, however, often notice them unconsciously the moment they step inside. Their brains register that something feels off, even if they can't put their finger on why. Susan, a grandmother in her late 60s, once told me she thought her dining room walls looked dull and yellowed, even though she had painted them just 2 years earlier. One afternoon, she decided to wipe her baseboards with a damp cloth and a little baking soda. To her surprise, the difference was immediate. Her walls looked freshly painted. When her friend stopped by, she even asked if Susan had redone the whole room. That's the kind of transformation this tiny act of care can bring. The trick? Take a few minutes each week to run a damp cloth along your baseboards. Pay special attention to the corners where dust tends to settle. It doesn't require fancy products or hours of effort, yet it instantly elevates your entire home. And once you notice how the edges of a room can make or break its look, you'll see that the same is true for the living things inside it. Which brings us to another silent signal of neglect: your plants. 5. Dead or wilted plants. Plants are meant to bring life, freshness, and a gentle touch of nature into our homes. But here's the irony. When they're neglected, they do the exact opposite. A plant with yellowed leaves or wilted stems doesn't just look sad. It quietly tells everyone that the home itself isn't being cared for. Even the most elegant furniture loses its charm when sitting beside a drooping pot of greenery. This is a mistake many women over 60 fall into, often with the best intentions. Maybe you brought home a beautiful orchid, certain it would thrive. But between family visits and daily routines, watering slipped your mind. Or perhaps you tucked a leafy plant onto a high shelf and forgot about it until its leaves turned brown. At first, it seems like a small thing, but to visitors, it creates the impression of an unloved space. Linda, who lives in Michigan, once admitted she felt embarrassed when her daughter pointed out the dusty, dying fern in her hallway. Instead of giving up, she made a small change, switching to low-maintenance plants like snake plants and pothos. And for the spaces she couldn't consistently tend, she chose high-quality silk plants that looked so real, her friends couldn't tell the difference. The transformation was immediate. Her home felt alive again, not because she filled it with flowers, but because every plant, real or faux, looked healthy and intentional. Here's the truth. You don't need a green thumb. You just need consistency. Remove yellow leaves, wipe dust from surfaces, and choose plants that match the light in your home. Even artificial plants, when kept clean, can add warmth without the stress of daily care. Because once your plants look vibrant, you'll notice the same principle applies elsewhere. Sometimes it's not about adding more, but about simplifying. And that brings us to another common mistake: using too many cleaning products. 6. Too many cleaning products. It's almost second nature to think that the more products you use, the cleaner your home will be. One bottle for glass, another for wood, a spray for shine, a wipe for disinfecting. The list goes on. But here's the hidden truth. Layering product after product doesn't make your home sparkle. Instead, it often leaves behind a dull, sticky film that actually makes everything look older and dirtier. This mistake is especially common among women over 60 who've spent decades collecting must-have cleaners from store shelves. It feels reassuring to have them lined up under the sink, ready for every possible mess. But when used all at once, these products often work against each other, creating residue that catches dust faster and dulls the natural shine of your surfaces. And let's not forget the overpowering chemical smell that lingers long after you've finished cleaning. Hardly the fresh, welcoming vibe you were hoping for. Margaret, a retired teacher, told me she once spent nearly an entire Saturday scrubbing her kitchen counters with 3 different products. Yet by the next morning, the surfaces looked cloudy. After learning a simpler method, just warm water with a drop of dish soap for daily cleaning and a vinegar solution for glass, her counters stayed bright longer and smelled fresher too. She laughed, saying she saved money, time, and energy, all while her kitchen finally looked like she imagined it should. The truth is, less really is more. Choose 1 or 2 effective products, stick to them consistently, and let your home's natural textures shine through. You'll not only protect your furniture and finishes, but you'll also make cleaning less exhausting. And once you realize how simplifying products brings back clarity, you'll see the same principle applies to bigger, more visible items in your home, like the rugs beneath your feet. Let's talk about that next. 7. Dirty or wrong rugs. Rugs have the power to either ground a room beautifully or drag it down completely. They're like the foundation of an outfit. When chosen and cared for well, they pull everything together. But when a rug is dirty, stained, too small, or even gives off a musty smell, the entire room suddenly feels older, worn out, and neglected. It doesn't matter if your furniture is polished or your shelves are dusted. One tired-looking rug can overshadow it all. This mistake is especially sneaky because rugs are so easy to take for granted. They sit beneath our feet, quietly catching everything: dust, crumbs, pet hair, and even odors. Over time, they absorb more than we realize. Many women over 60 also hold on to rugs long past their prime, thinking it still works, when in reality, it's silently dating the whole space. Size is another common issue. Choosing a rug that's too small for the room makes the space look awkward and incomplete. Mary, a woman in her 70s, told me she always felt her living room looked shrunken, no matter how she arranged the furniture. The breakthrough came when she replaced her small, worn rug with one that stretched wide enough to anchor her sofa and chairs. Instantly, the room looked twice as large and far more inviting, and once she began vacuuming both sides of her rug regularly, the colors looked richer, almost like new. The good news, this is one of the easiest fixes. Regular vacuuming twice a week, deep cleaning once a month, or investing in professional cleaning for stubborn stains can revive a rug dramatically. And if it's truly past saving, replacing it is an upgrade that pays for itself in the way it transforms your home's atmosphere. Because when the foundation of a room feels fresh and well kept, every piece of furniture on top shines brighter. And speaking of furniture, what sits on top of it might be the very thing making your home look messier than it really is. Let's dive into that next. 8. Clutter on furniture surfaces. Picture this. You've just polished your coffee table until it gleams. The sunlight hits it perfectly, and for a moment it looks like something from a magazine spread. But then, scattered across that same table, yesterday's mail, your reading glasses, the TV remote, maybe even a half-finished magazine. Suddenly, all that shine is gone. The surface feels crowded, the room feels messy, and the sense of calm disappears. This is one of the most common mistakes women over 60 make, and it happens so gradually you hardly notice. A key gets left on the counter, a few envelopes pile up on the dresser, a basket of papers makes its way to the dining table. Before long, every surface in the house is covered with just for now items. And while each object on its own is harmless, together they create visual noise that overwhelms the room. Our brains equate open space with cleanliness, so when surfaces are cluttered, even a spotless home feels chaotic. Eleanor, a grandmother in her early 60s, confessed that she used to feel her home never looked neat, no matter how much she cleaned. One afternoon, she cleared 5 random items off her coffee table. Just 5. When her neighbor stopped by later, the very first thing she said was, "Your home looks so organized today." Nothing else had changed. It was proof that clear surfaces allow the beauty of your furniture and decor to finally stand out. The fix doesn't require living like a minimalist. Instead, create designated spots for everyday items, a small tray for keys, a decorative bowl for remotes, a drawer or basket for papers. When everything has a place, your surfaces remain open and inviting. And once you start noticing how these little details add up, you'll realize it's not just what's on top of your furniture that matters. The smallest imperfections in your walls, trim, or fixtures can silently aid your home even more. Let's take a closer look at those finishing details. 9. Ignoring finishing details. It's often the smallest things that betray the overall feel of a home. You might think no one notices that tiny chip in the paint, the loose doorknob, or the darkened grout lines in the bathroom, but they do. These little imperfections accumulate quietly, and together they whisper one word: neglect. Even when the rest of the house is spotless, unfinished details can make your home appear tired and unkempt. Why does this happen so often? Because life gets busy. You tell yourself you'll patch that nail hole later, or you'll fix that squeaky hinge another day. Weeks turn into months, and before you know it, those minor flaws have become part of the backdrop. But here's the truth. Our eyes are wired to pick up on inconsistencies. A peeling baseboard or a missing screw draws attention away from everything else you've worked so hard to maintain. Barbara, in her mid-60s, shared how embarrassed she felt when her granddaughter pointed out the chipped paint along her hallway wall. She realized she'd stopped seeing it after walking by every day. One weekend, she pulled out a small repair kit, just a touch of spackle, a dab of leftover wall paint, and in under an hour, the flaw was gone. The next time a friend visited, she asked if Barbara had renovated. That's the power of paying attention to the tiniest details. The secret isn't perfection, it's consistency. Keep a small kit at home with basics: paint that matches your walls, a screwdriver, a little grout cleaner. Fixing these issues as soon as you spot them prevents them from becoming big repairs later. More importantly, it signals care. A well-kept home doesn't just look beautiful, it feels loved. And if these finishing touches can change how your home is perceived, imagine what happens when you stop maintaining. The freshness altogether. That's where the final, often overlooked mistake comes in. 10. Forgetting to care for the freshness. Here's the thing about a home. It doesn't stay beautiful just because you cleaned it once. Freshness fades, Dust creeps back, fingerprints reappear, and little corners slowly slip into neglect. One of the most common mistakes women over 60 make isn't the act of cleaning. It's the lack of consistency in caring for those small details that truly keep a home alive. So many of us fall into the trap of crisis cleaning, tidying up only when company is on the way. For a day or two, the house looks wonderful, but then the wilted leaves on the plant, the cloudy bathroom mirror, or the cluttered dresser surface creep back in, and that bright, welcoming feeling is gone again. Over time, the home begins to feel stuck in a cycle of looking good for moments, but never consistently cared for. Joan, a retired nurse in her early 70s, told me she used to dread hosting family dinners because her house always felt half done. She finally shifted her mindset by giving herself one small task each week. One Sunday, she wiped down all the light switches. The next, she cleaned her windows. Another week, she pulled out her rugs for a deep vacuum. None of it took more than 20 minutes, but the results stacked up. Within a month, her home didn't just look tidy for guests. It looked fresh for her every single day. And that's the secret. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. You don't need to do everything at once. Choose one or two details each week and let the changes build naturally. The difference isn't just visible, it's emotional. Your home starts to greet you with lightness and pride instead of reminding you of unfinished chores. Now that we've uncovered all 10 of these hidden mistakes, it's time to step back and see the bigger picture. Because the beauty of your home has never been about perfection, but about the care woven into every detail. Let's bring it all together. So now you know, the secret to a home that feels fresh, bright, and welcoming isn't about chasing perfection or spending endless hours scrubbing. It's about those quiet, almost invisible details that shape the way your space is experienced. Foggy windows, cluttered surfaces, dusty baseboards, tired rugs, wilted plants. They may seem small on their own, but together they can make even the cleanest home look old and neglected. The best part? Every single one of these mistakes has a simple, affordable solution. You don't need a renovation or a brand new set of furniture. You just need awareness and a little consistency. As Joan discovered when she started with one task a week, change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Step by step, detail by detail, your home transforms into a place that feels not only cared for, but deeply loved. And remember, this isn't about impressing guests. It's about you. You deserve to walk into your own home and feel light pour in through clear windows. Notice the sparkle of polished surfaces and breathe in the calm of a space that reflects who you are today. If this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these mistakes surprised you most, and which one will you fix first? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who might need a little inspiration. Because when we care for the small things, the big picture, the home and the life we live in it, becomes more beautiful than ever.